Have you got will they send out the link for the in-camera meeting later? Is that what happens?
Yeah, sending it in about 10 minutes.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. It's 7 o'clock. So I'd like to call this regular council meeting to order. Let me just open things up here. I should just start off by saying I'm acting deputy mayor this evening because Mayor Beamish is moving this weekend. So he's very busy, and luckily he's still in Gibsons, but he asked me to step in for him while he undertook that in his personal life. So here we are. It's 7 o'clock. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda, please? Councillor Kroll, Councillor Lumley, all in favor? Thank you. Adoption of the minutes. Someone want to move the adoption of the minutes of the regular council meeting on October 20th? Councillor Kroll, Councillor Lumley, all in favor? Any business arising from those minutes? No? Okay. Great. So the first thing on our agenda this evening is a proclamation, and I believe Jean-Paul de Gel is in attendance this evening for the proclamation that declaring that November 16th, 2020 be known as Louis Riel Day in the town of Gibsons. Jean-Paul, are you? Oh, there you are. I can see your name.
TV, there we are.
Hello.
Hi, how are you today?
Good. So I do have a proclamation here to read out. So I will run through that for you. I wish I could be there to shake your hand or rub elbows or whatever it is that we're supposed to do these days, but unfortunately this is the world we're living in. So, whereas the Métis people are recognized as one of Canada's Aboriginal peoples pursuant to Section 35 of the Constitution Act of 1982, whereas the Métis culture, rich in spiritual beliefs and colorful traditions, is an integral part of the British Columbia's multicultural character. And whereas throughout history, Métis citizens have made significant contributions to the development and success of our province. And whereas Louis Riel has made an enormous contribution towards the development of this country, now therefore, I, Illyria Ladwig, Deputy Mayor of Gibsons, do hereby proclaim November 16th, 2020 as Louis Riel Day in the town of Gibsons. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome. Yeah, I was looking Louis Riel up online today, and is this the day November 16th, is that the day he died? Is that correct?
Yes, that's the day he was put to death.
Right. And so that's why this day was chosen, I take it.
Yes.
I'm getting a little education here myself.
Awesome. Always good.
Okay, well, congratulations.
Thank you very much for the time and for acknowledging us once again.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Okay, so moving on to our agenda. The next thing on our agenda is delegations. We have a delegation from Chris Hergesheimer as the Director of Programs from One Straw Society. So welcome, Chris. And I should say that Chris is here regarding a request for endorsement for the Sunshine Coast Food Charter. Hi, Chris. We can see you, but we can't hear you yet. There we go.
Yeah, we are now.
You look like are you in your closet too? I'm often in my closet.
Actually, I'm hiding in my 12-and-a-half-year-old girl's bedroom while my family bites their nails about the election that's going on
Yes.
down south. So
Right.
I had to remove myself from the situation,
Right.
get on to more, quick impact value in my local community and
Local
change
things.
that I might be able to make. So I do have a bit of a slideshow. So do I have screen sharing permissions if that's all fine with everyone?
Lindsay, CAO or sorry.
You should be able to share the screen if you go to the bottom. There should be a green button. Yeah.
Okay. And can everyone see that there?
Yep.
Excellent. So yeah, thanks very much for having me present tonight. I have to first say so much work has gone into this very, very short document that you had in your agenda package. So it's a great opportunity for me to sort of be able to expand on it a little bit and answer any questions that you may have. Why a food charter, Sunshine Coast Food Charter, and more importantly, why now? And I think to start off, food charters really drive vision, action, strategy for what we call civically engaged food systems, those where the residents of a geographical area have a stake in it and want to be participants in the creation of a food system. So whether it's promoting local investment or driving efforts to preserve farmland or promoting food co-ops or creating policies that support urban agriculture, a charter recommends to decision makers at all levels of government where they should put their efforts. And I suppose another way to look at it is that a food charter is like a broad community statement and or a set of goals that sort of describe how the members of a given community want their food system to be maintained. By including the voices of various stakeholders, as we've done in this document, food charters encourage this broad base of support and cross-sectoral collaboration and foster community connection. When used as an education piece, food charters can raise community awareness about food system concerns, weaknesses, as well as offer a platform for public discussion and advocacy. And I think the why now is kind of obvious. Well, it's certainly obvious to those of us who've been deeply involved in this work for a long time. This past 8 months has really given us insight into many of the risks associated with the global food system. And while we on the Sunshine Coast didn't feel the impacts more than some flour quotas at our local grocery store, the risk could have been much greater and much more disruptive. And sort of this pandemic has provided a window through which we can clearly see the risks, and we can begin to act in really small ways to help mitigate some of these risks. But it's obvious that the doom and gloom, ferry stop running type discourses are not actually getting us anywhere. I've been involved in this work on the Sunshine Coast for over a decade, and in some ways we're sort of where we were then. We've had some victories forward and some steps backward as well. But the reality is that public sector investment is almost non-existent in agriculture. The farming sector is almost stagnant due to high land prices and this lack of markets and distribution, and a new discourse is needed. It might be about economics, it might be about community health, it might be about climate change, but that's for another time. It's important to note that food charters are not binding policy statements. So nothing in here is meant to be a policy statement or something that can be translated right to policy, but they should act as inspiration for how to develop appropriate policy or initiatives for the community. So it might be, municipal strategic planning or promoting government endorsement and accountability, encouraging civic engagement, or more importantly, offering a long-term sort of reference point for community and governmental partnerships. And these activities are specifically where the support of government is really important. Over to our particular food charter, I'll just say as a precursor, almost every community in this province has a food charter, whether they're rural or urban. Ours has been in the works for over 5 years. As you may have seen in your agenda package, we've put it on the shelf, taken it off, done some engagement, revised it. And there's 12 organizations in the community who now have a connection or interest in the ideals, principles set out in the document. And the value here in all those organizations is that we have this exponential growth in terms of what we're able to speak for. So 12 groups with 100 members each makes us representing the voices of 1,200 people, rather than, you know, our societies on our own, or whatever that number may be. I will update that to say that I had a presentation to the District of Seashelt. They had 2 weeks of deliberation and came back with a full endorsement of the food charter. We got news last week, so that'll make it 13 on there. So yes, really they provide a common framework, a set of agreed upon ideals from which projects, policies, and initiatives can emerge. So for example, when a specific, very actionable and measurable project emerges and it's brought before council, we kind of have a starting point in agreement that the project would be supported in principle. Coming back to the idea that food charters act as sources of inspiration, and I dare say agreement between community groups and local government. So you see the 5 principles that we have outlined there: collaboration and participation, health and well-being, cultural vitality, environmental stewardship, and economic vitality as well. And it's important to stress that a food charter calls for the creation of food systems policy, not just local agricultural policy. And this is a really important point, because this interconnected policy work avoids us intervening in one part of the food system without fully understanding the impacts at other parts of the food system. So food systems policy by nature really examines those interconnectedness and the way that interventions at one point are going to have impacts further down. So in terms of approaches, it might be adopting food policies as part of the comprehensive planning process, or looking at what the barriers are to food system planning, might be looking at the region's public health and planning departments, things like support programs that reduce poverty, policies to improve food environments, initiatives to reduce greenhouse gases, investments in innovation in agriculture, or the revision of regulations that prevent our capacity to scale up. And so I think really at the end of the day, what's our ask? We, the creators and facilitators of the document, request that the town of Gibsons fully endorse the Sunshine Coast Food Charter as a public statement of principles related to the health and future of our food system. There's no financial commitment and no commitment to fund current or future activities. However, there is the understanding that if community groups, One Straw or others, businesses or individuals bring forward initiatives and ideas that fall under the purview of the ideals set out in this charter, that council will consider them in relation to their commitment to the overarching goals of the charter, mainly which is strengthening our local food system and its associated positive impacts. So we would like you to add your name to the list of endorsees and send a very strong signal to the community that the town of Gibsons supports the future of our local food system. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris. First of all, I just want to say that I think the whole conversation around food systems and food production is a huge, important topic that I think we need to be having more in society. And so I really appreciate you bringing this to council this evening. I will open this up for discussion from council. I'm curious. I noticed in the local this week, it looks like the District of Seashelt is doing a bunch of consultation on urban agriculture. I was curious if you guys were part of those discussions.
We aren't, but you know, we've been pushing those surveys out to our membership and trying to get people to engage with that, because really what we're looking at with such a low percentage of food produced on the Sunshine Coast, the quick wins and I guess the low hanging fruit will be to get friction out of the system that prevents producers from selling more, that prevents producers from producing more, that limits these new markets and new types of engagement. So when I see these types of surveys and SCRD looking at redoing some regulations, and it doesn't require a huge overhaul, really just looking at where are those friction points and how can we quickly get those friction points out of the way, that don't necessarily cost us anything, but provide the opportunity for farmers to begin to scale up. Because we have a lot of small farmers using a lot of direct marketing through farmers markets and farm stands, but very few who are accessing other marketing channels. And some of that has to do with regulatory issues and other restrictions that we need to examine as we move towards strengthening it. So.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. And I'll just finally say, if anyone has ever questioned the importance of this topic, all I can say is watch the documentary on Netflix called Kiss the Ground. It'll really make you think more about this. So anyways, with that, I will open up to council. Does anyone have any questions for Chris? Councillor DeAndrade.
Yes, thank you, Chris. I just want to comment. I'm aware of the making of the food chart, and I'm so happy to see this happening. It is actually a fundamental piece. Sustainable and integrative agriculture, as Councillor Ledwig said. It's a fundamental piece of our existence, right? I mean, we are in this interconnected web, and all the issues that we have on the coast, it would impact food, and the way we grow food will impact other issues as water, soil, and etc. I truly believe that the coast is poised to be a permaculture center. And I think there's even some trends. Last meeting, the Sunshine Coast Tourism presented, they were approved by the federal government with a pilot project about culinary tourism. And I think all this thing about food and bringing sustainability, health, interconnectedness is so timely. And I fully support that. Congratulations to all of the people that were part of that.
Yes, thank you. It was a long process, but we feel like we've really connected with the right groups who each play a role. One Straw, we have a good connection with backyard growers and homesteaders, but say not as much of a integration into the work that Community Services Society does, for example, or the work of the Sunshine Coast Farmers Institute, engaging with those commercial farmers. So I think by getting all those groups on board, we make sure we have all the pieces covered and on all those avenues when we start building out policy that's going to be holistic and meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to acknowledge that I fully understand that there's a delay and that there's not going to be a decision made tonight on this. I was informed that, the presentation and endorsement, if it was decided, would follow in a couple weeks. So there's no expectation from me that a decision's been made tonight, but I do appreciate the chance to speak with you further about it.
Thank you. Thank you. Gravity.
Hello. Yes, thank you very much for your presentation. And I guess I just was wondering, beyond beyond the food charter inspiring and giving like a pathway to inspire our local governments to make decisions which support it, is there some sort of is there another advantage to the support from from the town of Gibsons as well as the other local governments you're looking at, such as grants or other things like that?
I mean, obviously, some level of investment from all local governments would, put into the right positions could really support and sustain certain aspects of the food system. I think it's just really, we want to make sure that we're laying the groundwork for the relationship with the towns, with the councils, with the elected officials who are able to then, we've been critiqued for saying, it doesn't have any projects in it. It's very idealistic. There's not any measurables necessarily that can come out of this food charter. And I think it's really just the opening of a conversation piece. And so for us, I don't want to trivialize it and say it's only moral support. But that is a big aspect of seeking the endorsement of all 4 local governments here on the coast so when we look and when we do approach with those, projects that are actionable, that may require some funding, that we at least know we're not cold calling, if you will, when we come to governments, that we're saying, oh, town of Gibsons, has endorsed these ideals in principle. And so the conversation starts off on a bit more of a positive note there to begin with. So.
All right. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Any other comments? Councillor D'Andrade?
If I can just follow up on the question, I think there's a more and more there are push for to acting on the sustainable development goals, the 17 now, and actually goal 2 is zero hunger, and then you have goal 3, good health and well-being. So the church, it really support the implementation of these goals. And I think even if we want to lobby at the provincial level, I think this is another important thing too, right? Even in the future with agriculture, the price of agricultural land, who knows, and things like that, right? I think there's a lot of, and it brings a lot of awareness, right? That's another thing, because our society is very fragile. And I think with COVID, we realized that the true power is local power, right? That's how we create resilience.
Yes.
Okay. Seeing no other comments, I think we'll ready to move on. Thank you so much, Chris. Really appreciate you bringing it. And of course, you'll hear back from us.
Thank you very much. Okay. Have a good evening, everyone.
Good night. Okay, so the next thing on our agenda is inquiries, and these are just inquiries for items that are on the agenda this evening. So, Corporate Officer, do we have any inquiries at this time?
Thank you. At this time, if anybody has an inquiry to ask council, I ask that you use the raise the hand feature, which can be found at the bottom of your screen, and I'll turn on your audio and video. And I'm not seeing any acting mayor.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so next on the agenda is committee reports, and we have the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes from October 20th. Does someone want to move the receipt of those minutes? Councillor Kroll, thank you. Someone want to second that? Councillor Lumley, all in favor? Thank you. Next is Grants of Assistance Round 2, and we have a recommendation that the Gibsons Senior Society become a line item in the 2021 budget. Somebody want to move that? Councillor Kroll, Councillor D'Andrade, second it. Is there any discussion on that? No? Okay, great. All in favor? Thank you. Next on the agenda is the 2020 operations budget, or 9-month review. The recommendation that funding for the 15,000 allocated to the Sea Cavalcade in the 2020 budget be carried over to the 2021 budget. Councillor Kroll, Councillor D'Andrade, any further discussion on that? No, all in favor? Thank you. Okay, moving on. From today's Planning and Development Committee, we have a number of recommendations that, as we discussed, for the OCP and zoning amendment for 622, I guess I say this road wrong. It's Huff Road at 1161 Sunshine Coast Highway. Corporate Officer, do I need to read out all these recommendations, or can someone move them as is written?
That's your choice. If you want to, if somebody would like to move them as written, they're on the agenda for everyone to see.
Perfect. Would somebody be comfortable moving these as written? Councillor Lumley, seconded by Councillor D'Andrade, and all in favor? Thank you. Next is council reports. Does anyone have anything to report this week? Councillor Kroll.
Thank you. A couple of things. Alton Toff organized a virtual tour of the carbon engineering facility in Squamish. There's a link that has been forwarded so you can see the tour. It's a really amazing facility. The technology they've developed for sequestering carbon. They've got a new plant that's opening in Texas, which is a sort of first facility of its kind. I would highly recommend just having a look at the presentation is in our mailing package, and there's a link to the. But it's amazing technology. It's it's ostensibly a Canadian company. Interesting people that have initially funded it, and the fact that they can sequester carbon out of it. They can produce a fuel which when consumed produces less carbon than normal fossil fuels. So it all in all, and it's interesting because the Texas system, the power required to run the system is wind and solar. The facility in here uses hydroelectricity, but all in all, it's a pretty amazing system. Pool issues. We had a meeting this morning with Chair Pratt and Director McMahon and Director Hiltz, and we've put a request through to the regional district requesting that we get a report. Can the pool be opened December 1st or sooner? What are the implications? We've been advised that the capacity of the pool would be 24 people. We've asked for clarification whether it's 24 total, 24 staff and patrons. They've already reported back that the hot tub could be used with limited use. We've mentioned the business about the town offering to pay for the capital expenses of the protective stuff that has to be put in place. So hopefully, we'll hear back. It's going to board at the regional district. It'll be brought up again this week, and there's a report due back on the 12th of November. So just for, those people who, people seem to have the misapprehension that there's a plot afoot to close the pool, and that's certainly not the case. What the regional district and the board looked at doing was opening the facilities that had a larger capacity and were more energy efficient, which would keep the costs down, because the costs are going to be high because there isn't the revenue to offset operational costs. So, the Gibsons pool is not the most modern, efficient pool. It's quaint, but it's not necessarily the most efficient facility. So that was one of the considerations, was the larger capacity of the Seashell pool, the larger capacity and the greater efficiency of the Gibsons ice rink. The intention was always to, the report in the third quarter is that the pool would open in the new year. So we're looking to see if it can be open sooner. But just to quell the myths that are going around that it's a plot to permanently close the Gibsons pool is not the case. On another note, Councillor Dondretti and Mayor Beamish and I attended the launch of the Poppy campaign with the Gibsons Legion. And I just wanted to I think everyone's aware of it. The Legion is having a real rough go of it. Their hospitality facilities have been sort of curtailed because of the COVID things. The dinners they normally would have been reduced, or they've been non-existent. They haven't been able to have social events and dances. They hosted a dart tournament, which someone told me generated them over $15,000. They haven't been able to do that. So, and this really impacts on their capabilities. The first year I was on council, I attended the grad ceremony at Elphinstone, and I was overwhelmed at the generosity of the Gibsons Legion. Every other bursary or scholarship was, Legion funded. So, their reduced ability to raise funds in the community is certainly going to impact in a lot of ways. So I would certainly encourage people when they, reach to buy the poppy, that they think it's not just, to support those that have gone before us. It's also supporting everyday activity in the community, and it's a, they do great work, and anything we can do to support them, I heartily recommend. So, buy lots of poppies, be generous, folding money only. That's about it for me, I think.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Councillor Crowell. Gravity.
I just wanted to say that at Elphinstone we are doing normally we have a Remembrance Day ceremony in the gym with all the students the day before, because obviously you get Remembrance Day off, and this year we are doing it. We've created a video that we're showing. Anyways, I just thought on that topic, and we've also gotten a speaker from Wilda Jones. Joan is speaking at it. So anyways, but I also wanted to just ask, is there, for the alternate youth counselor, I know that you guys were planning on presenting or having them here today. I don't know what ended up happening with that. I know that Mayor Beamish got in contact with me, and I spoke to 2 of the students who had been planning on applying for that. I was just wondering if I could have an update there, I guess.
Corporate Officer, would you like to speak to this?
Yes, I can. Any selection for an appointment or employee or position within the town, because it deals with personal information, is a protected discussion, and that will take place at a protected meeting and not in.
So it hasn't happened yet, then I take.
It has not occurred yet, yes. You will be notified as soon as it's.
Okay. All right, great. I just wasn't sure if I had missed something. All right, thank you very much. That's all I had to say.
Okay, thank you. Councillor DeAndrade.
Yes, I have participated at the House Sound Community Forum, along actually with Councillor Crow, Mayor Beamish, and our CAO. It was actually, there was 2 major highlights. One is the House Sound Biosphere Initiative Society received a final endorsement from the Canadian Commission for UNESCO. So the nomination package has now been sent to UNESCO in Paris for review and to start a journey to final official designation if everything goes well accordingly. Next year, during the fall next year, we will be learning whether or not the House Sound became an official UNESCO Biosphere Reserve. This is very positive. Another highlight is during the forum, they presented the Ocean Watch House Sound report, the edition of 2020, which the update from the 2017, that was the first report, it speaks to a number of key UN Sustainable Development Goals, which is quite interesting. We had a conversation a few minutes ago about the food security and so on. And on this report, the most prominently was the Sustainable Goal 14, which is life below water, but also the 11, which is sustainable cities and communities, address the Sustainable Goal 13, which is climate action, and perhaps most importantly, which is the Sustainable Development Goal 17, which is partnerships to achieve the goal. So the report includes basically the key issues of House Sound, a status report, an assessment of progress, a rating system since 2017, how we progressed, and an action plan. This action plan is very important because it will inform all stakeholders of the actions that would support sustainability, environmental sustainability in the Sound, and the town of Gibsons is one of the stakeholders. So next meeting, I would be presenting to council the action items with a motion to support this work. So yeah, that's my report.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Kroll.
Sorry, there was one thing that I did forget. Out of the pool meeting, one of the things that became really apparent, and it was really good just sort of sitting down, having dialogue with Director McMahon and Director Hiltz. And to that end, Chair Pratt offered on a regular basis, she would be willing to sort of just host an information dialogue where we could meet with our neighbors and discuss some of the issues. I know Director McMahon's getting a lot of inquiry about, active transport transportation links between the town of Gibsons and Area E. So I think I'll probably bring it forward as a motion that we set up a regular meeting with the rural directors. And as I said, Chair Pratt is offered to host it. So I think it could be a really beneficial opportunity to problem solve. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lindley.
Not to get too far down this wormhole, but I just hope that during discussions that all those involved remember that the pool isn't a profit and loss center. It wasn't built to make money. It's a community amenity. And I think you have to keep that in your back of your mind as much as you look at the positives and negatives as far as revenues go. It serves a community, and we have to take that into consideration as well. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. I'll just say quickly that I attended an interesting session. It's kind of in relation to what Councillor Kroll was saying about active transportation. I attended a session last week, sort of as a councillor, but also as a mother. SD 46 put on a really interesting dialogue session with Vancouver Coastal Health on a topic that they call independent mobility. And it's about the importance of letting children essentially roam freely in their neighborhoods. And there's been lots of studies on how this is reduced over the years. And of course, because this was being put on by SD 46, it was put on from the perspective of how kids are actively transporting to school. And so the conversation that Donna is having, or the input that she's receiving, is about the fact that we've had some changes in our bus services to, say, Langdale Elementary this year. And so all of a sudden, children that are living on one side of the highway are not being transported by the bus to the other side of the highway because they live too close to the school, to the school itself. And so what does that mean from a transportation standpoint, and how do children walk to school and this sort of thing? The study said that in the 70s, up to 80% of children walked to school. And by the 1990s, that was down to 9%. And that by children not having this freedom of mobility, there's lots of discussion about, are kids becoming sort of couch potatoes because of electronics, or are they turning to electronics because we're not giving them the freedom to just roam around and have more of that mobility? And that local governments can really contribute to this by thinking about safe passageways and transportation corridors to and from school and key areas in the neighborhood. So really interesting discussion. I'll share the YouTube video that they shared with us, with the rest of council, but it's just something to think about when we think about transportation corridors and linkages. So anyways, that's my report. I know we spend a lot of time on this. So okay, let's move on to correspondence then, if no one else has anything. The first thing under correspondence is a letter from Ward Limburner. He's the executive director from Policing and Security Branch from the Ministry of Public Safety and Solicitor General. And he's written us a letter. I'll just kind of briefly summarize it for the purposes of recording this meeting. Essentially thanking the town of Gibsons for meeting with him at UBCM regarding the town of Gibsons hitting its 5,000 population marker. For those that don't know, once a municipality hits a population of 5,000 people, they are required to cover their own policing expenses. And there's lots of, and we believe that the town of Gibsons is going to hit that population mark in the 2021 census. Essentially, Mr. Limburner is in this letter informing us that his staff is going to be working with the RCMP over the winter months to draft Gibson's policing information package, and is just confirming for us that should we hit that population of 5,000 in the next census, that our responsibility for taking over policing will come into effect April 2022. So that's where we're at. Does somebody want to move the receipt of that correspondence? Councillor Crowell, Councillor DeAndretti, is there any further discussion on that? No? Okay. Oh, Councillor Crowell.
I sat in on that. It was a conference call that we had, and it was good. And Mayor Beamish and the CAO was also in attendance, but it was a good dialogue, and I think it bodes well for us that we're not going into this with our eyes wide shut. That and it's unfortunate that because of COVID we had to make budget adjustments with respect to the sort of nest egg we'd hope to have a buffer against the cost of policing. So I think, with the upcoming budget reviews and things, it's something we're going to have to think about again.
Thank you. So all in favor of receiving that correspondence? Thank you. Councillor Lindley. Thank you. So moving on to the next correspondence, we have Matthew Wilson and Tanya Andrews from the Powell River Education Services Society regarding the Sunshine Coast, regarding a Sunshine Coast regional labor market study. And I just want to state, so I'll just read out a little bit from the correspondence that we received from them, just for the purposes of recording this meeting. Essentially, they're proposing to conduct a 15-month study to examine the regional trends and issues related to employment and workforce development as identified by educators, employers, community members, and network partners in the Sunshine Coast region. The findings will support a multi-year strategic planning process, employment strategies, economic resiliency, education, and training strategies across the entire region. The study will also notably focus on building regional economic and community resiliency in response to COVID-19 and beyond. They've provided a small presentation as part of our agenda package here for our information's sake, and are seeking a letter of support for funding that they are requesting from the province for this initiative. So with that, does someone want to make a motion to receive that correspondence? Councillor DeAndretti, Councillor Crowell, all in favor? Or I guess I should say further discussion? No, all in favor? Okay. I will also add that I believe that Matthew and Tanya are in the audience today. If anyone has any questions. No. There's a second motion that council provides staff with a response to the request for a letter of support from the town. Do we support this motion? Councillor DeAndretti, Councillor Crowell, all in favor? No further discussion? I guess we just said all in favor. Sorry. Yes, Corporate Officer.
Sorry, I just wanted to clarify what the motion was. If it was in support?
Yes, in support of a
Okay.
letter of support.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. No further discussion required? No. Okay. The next agenda item is from Lori Pratt, Chair of the Sunshine Coast Regional District, regarding a climate change action report card project. In this correspondence, Lori Pratt is requesting a letter of support regarding this initiative. Just to clarify, this initiative is from an organization called My Sea to Sky, and they are trying to develop this climate action plan report card tool. And in doing so, this organization is seeking pilot communities to participate in this initiative. The letter they provided outlines a number of benefits of this initiative for the communities that choose to participate, including a number of funding benefits to engage in the initiative. And it is here for benefits such as funding to cover staff time to help track down data that may be required for this initiative, funding for staff time to test and provide feedback as you develop the tool, the ability to measure whether policies, public engagement, et cetera, in reducing emissions and other benefits. So we've got two recommendations. One that we received the report. Does someone want, Councillor Crowell, does someone else want to second that? Councillor DeAndrade, open for discussion. CAO?
I can wait, Charlotte, but I would just want to provide a little bit of background.
I would appreciate that.
How this study could perhaps be used up. It follows up. In the last time we did a similar study like this was a regional effort in 2011, and it was just limited to the Sunshine Coast, and that data was provided by the province because it has to. We're not able to gather all that data as just as local governments, but it's more important is the action plans that follow, that how to work together on some of these items. And I also note that this is primarily dealing with climate mitigation issues so much. On the Vancouver Island, which is a group that came out of the AVICC, there's also the town is part of a group that's working on a resiliency plan for Vancouver Island through the University of Victoria. So as you can imagine, it is on your strategic plan. We have a lot of work to do around climate change planning in general. And for what it's worth, this will be helpful. And at this point, it's just a letter of support. And we can work together going forward if council so wishes as well. So just a bit of a background on that.
Thank you, CAO. Councillor Kroll.
When this came up at board, I believe another component of it is the measuring of GHG emissions, that they're actually going to be sort of mapping the area to target, areas where we have potential problems. And it was part of the reason that I recommended that the chair of the regional district board reach out to both Gibsons and the district of Seashelt and the Seashelt Indian Nation to include them in the project.
Great, thank you. Councillor DeAndrade, did you have a comment?
Yeah, thank you. It's just to emphasize how important this initiative is. I'm very pleased because, I mean, I see that one of the big issues that we have on the coast being stretch, longitudinal coast, is transportation. So to curb transportation, we depend pretty much on an electric system, which we don't have the infrastructure. And I think by measuring, that will lobby. And what I learned today, because I was listening, I was watching the videos, Canada has been really, really bad in meeting any target. We never met any climate change target. And even now, to try to meet the 2030 target, what they were saying, because we never met, we should really double. So in order to be fair with the world and do our share, we should cut 60% of our emissions by 2030. We have 10 years to do that. So I really do hope that with this, by measuring, we will be able to lobby at the scale, because I was concerned last time that we had the transit liaison from the province here. They said that we would never, the next batch of transit buses will be still diesel. And so hopefully this would have some impact, because we are so far away from meeting any target as a country and as a region.
Okay, so with that, there's a recommendation that council provide staff with a response to request to provide a letter of support for this initiative. Councillor Kroll, Councillor DeAndrade, all in favor? Okay, thank you. Corporate officer, did we all approve the receipt of that report?
No, you didn't vote on the receipt, but
Okay.
you've all received it, so.
Okay. All right, good, as long as we're covered. Thank you. Okay, council correspondence is up next. Does anyone have any correspondence that they'd like to bring to the rest of council's attention? Councillor Kroll. You're on mute, Councillor Kroll.
In the October 26th, the Sunshine Coast Credit Union is doing hosting an economic forum. It's actually tomorrow at 9. You can register for it online. It looks like it could be quite beneficial. I think I covered pool. We had a lot of pool correspondence, and it's not in the package for this council meeting, but November 2nd, there is the Ocean and Fisheries are doing a webinar on the Howe Sound Marine Refuge, and that takes place on November 17th, and registration has to be by the 10th. So I just wanted to mention it because by the time we get this next package, it'll be too late. That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Moving on to bylaws. Next thing in our agenda is the OCP Amendment Bylaw 98528 for mixed use gateway. The recommendation is that the official community plan amendment bylaw number 98528 2020 be given first and second reading. Someone want to move that? Councillor Lumley, Councillor Kroll, all in favor? Okay, thank you. The second one is for the zoning amendment bylaw 106559, again, mixed use gateway. The mixed use gateway zoning amendment bylaw 106559 2020 be given first and second reading. Someone want to move that? Councillor Kroll, Councillor DeAndrade, all in favor? Good. New business. Is there any new business? Oh, Councillor DeAndrade.
Thank you, Councillor Ledway. I would like just to bring the issue of the fireworks, that all the explosions that happened this past Halloween. It was pretty close to where I live, and it was intense, and it endured a long time. I was quite shocked because I understand that in the town of Gibsons, we need a permit to get it, and I'm not aware that the town of Gibsons issued any permit. And we had this conversation. So I think what I'm interested is just to understand how council feels for us to make a request that staff perhaps look at options to address this issue. I don't know, it's the Halloween, is it possible that we have the bylaw officer stand by to go over, and perhaps even now that we have a casual, perhaps 2 people, if this is a possibility, or even bringing this issue to the province, because they're impacting species at risk, for example. How does council feels about it?
Well, I didn't support not having fireworks at Sea Cavalcade. I mean, I think you and I, Councillor DeAndrade, the environment's obviously very important to me, and I'm an advocate for all sorts of aspects of environmental management. Fireworks is one that I still feel it's important, particularly during these times, that we have things that bring our community together. And I guess I don't feel strongly enough that the impacts that are created from fireworks outweigh the benefits. I've seen debates about whether or not lightning creates the same kind of disturbance as fireworks on species, for example. And I just haven't seen enough evidence for me personally to feel strongly enough to want to remove that from our community at this time. So.
May I just finish a question? How do you feel about our recent noise bylaw?
What about it?
We should write a noise bylaw, and now we have explosions in residential areas. This is not even in a distant, like perhaps in the school field or something far away. And this was really close to the creek, where is the residence of animals, right? That I don't know, I feel concerned with the kind of impact. Perhaps the location is something that has to be, but we just passed a noise bylaw and it was extremely loud.
Yeah, that's a good point. Others? Councillor Kroll?
I think, the civic fireworks event such as Sea Cavalcade is something that's, endorsed by the town, condoned by the town, and held over open water. The city of Vancouver, as of midnight on Halloween, banned the sale of fireworks in the city of Vancouver. Side note to that, I believe the Vancouver Fire Department had reported 430 fires they attributed started by fireworks on Halloween. So I think, we're looking at a couple of things. Are you going to, there's the option for public civic displays endorsed by the community, held so everyone in the community can enjoy them? Or do you just let it run rogue and everyone runs out to their local fireworks shop, buys fireworks and sets them off, in your hedge or across the street, or, so I think there is room for some containment of them. I don't know if anyone was hurt during the thing, but anyone living in my neighborhood, we were surrounded by them. And, as Councillor D'Andretti mentioned, they went on at great length. In the correspondence package, there was correspondence against fireworks and people saying they attended displays and weren't they wonderful. So, again, what was it? The year before last, we went through a lengthy thing, fireworks yay, fireworks nay, and at the end of the day, it was the provincial fire service who said no fireworks. So, it's, but it, there is, I think there is the opportunity for them to be brought in line.
Do you have anything to contribute on this topic, Councillor Lemley? Any thoughts?
I guess the only time, not this year, obviously, because of COVID, but I know last year, the neighborhood, I took my youngest daughter trick-or-treating, and the guy does it every year, and the entire neighborhood loves it.
Mhm.
And like everyone on the street loves it. And I mean, they were quite well done. I know it's usually like really cold and maybe kind of almost raining. So I think the threat of fire is not the same as it is at Sea Cavalcade and in the end of July, right? Where it hasn't rained for a month and a half. But I don't know. I mean, sometimes I think there's like a middle road somewhere, as far as environmentalism or animals. And then there's like humans that, maybe it just for like 5 or 10 minutes, it makes them feel really good and the kids love it. And I don't know, everyone's smiling. So maybe there's some exceptions that you just say, you know what, it's Halloween, some fireworks are going off and c'est la vie. And then, that's kind of the way I look at it.
Thank you. Director of Planning.
Thank you, Chair. So just so Council is aware, we do allow fireworks on one day of the year, and it is on Halloween. And for processing the permits, the permit must be signed by the fire department as well as the town of Gibsons. So the fire department is aware of any permits issued. And this year, the RCMP contacted us to find out if any licenses were given out or permits, I guess, and we let them know that one was given out.
Just out of curiosity, is there a difference between fireworks and firecrackers? No.
I don't know. I can't speak to that right now. I don't actually know which bylaw it is that speaks to that, but I can look into that for you.
No, don't. You've got more important things to do. I was just curious. I find those super annoying. The things just cracking away for no reason. But anyway. So I don't know what you, thank you for that, Director of Planning. Councillor D'Andretti, are you wanting to make a motion? Or are we kind of just tabling this for now for further thought? And
Oh, I think it's important just to receive feedback from council, and also I wasn't aware of this bylaw that allows just during Halloween. I think, and I understand the point made by Councillor Lumley and yourself. I think the issue is for millennia now, we have always put our needs first, and we are at the brink of extinction. And every single life that we have, for example, during Halloween night, there was an owl that came to my tree. I've never seen an owl, a tiny owl. It might be the saw-whet or the pygmy, and it was here. So this is precious wildlife. And when you have this kind of action, you impact this biodiversity and so on. And it seems that, well, that's okay, just one night, and the kids love, but because of our action, we actually are facing our own extinction. So I think it's time for us just to, we have to make existential change. We have to make very radical change. You were talking about transportation, how kids don't walk anymore because cars are dangerous, life is dangerous. So we need to start thinking of making change. And I think it seems insignificant, but I don't see as insignificant, because when you do the cumulative impacts of every single action that we have, because we want to have fun, because it doesn't sound that bad, and that's what I consider. And we don't have too many years, and I think every single effort that we can put in this regard. And there are sometimes there are efforts that you have to go to work, you have to drive a car, but do we need to use fireworks? Is one more impact, and that's where I'm coming from. Mm-hmm. I would like to see some action. We talk about, environmental sustainability. This is one of them.
Are you proposing a motion, Corporate Officer? Can Councillor DeAndretti make a motion right now? I'm just thinking we need to move on in the agenda, and I'm just wondering what our options are here.
The appropriate action for something that's not listed on the agenda would be under notice of motion, to read the motion out, and then it wouldn't actually be discussed or voted on until the next meeting, where it would fall on the agenda under new business.
Okay, thank you. Gravity, I saw you had your hand up. Did you want to contribute to?
Oh, I guess I was just thinking that I agreed with you saying, well, I mean, it's one night a year, and we already have rules in place saying people have to get permits. And as we saw, I think I heard only one person actually got a permit. And I know there were a lot more people than just one person who were using fireworks, which goes to show that I think that what we can do, people are not necessarily going to, like, if we were to say no more fireworks on Halloween night, I don't know that change that we're going to see is going to be impactful enough that it's going to, I don't know that we're going to notice noticeable change besides some angry citizens. But
that's an interesting point. Like, is society willing to incorporate the change, even if we make it?
Well, yeah, I just think that because it's, I mean, I guess that's what I'm saying, is that I don't know, maybe after years and years and years, and maybe that's what we're going for, but I think that it's one night and people seem to really enjoy it. And I don't know that, I mean, actually, I haven't looked at any of the science between, so I can't say that, but I don't know. I think that it would be difficult to put into place a rule that people would listen to on Halloween night.
Okay, thank you. So with that, I think, Councillor DeAndre, why don't we move to notice a motion? And if you'd like to make a motion at that point, we could read it out there. Does that sound good? Mm-hmm. Okay, so moving on to it, do you have something prepared, or?
Yeah, I would like to make a motion to ask staff to look at options, and perhaps even to refer to the province, because I don't think this is a small issue at all. We do have, I mean, to me it's difficult to understand if we need a permit and we don't have permits. So the people who are using the fireworks and don't have permit, technically they're doing some illegal activity, right? So is it a matter of the capacity we cannot reinforce? What it is?
Corporate Officer?
Yes, if I could just ask for some clarity, if staff are going to bring back a report, what exactly would you like it to look into?
I think our options, for example, because we have a bylaw and we need a permit, but only one person got a permit, but there's all people, I mean, is it a matter of enforcement? Is it we don't have the capacity, or what is the issue? Why we wouldn't be able to reinforce that?
Councillor Lumley?
Maybe it's too broad right now, and I appreciate what Councillor DeAndre is saying. And if you go back to what Councillor Kroll said, was that there's a controlled fireworks celebration over top of water. Maybe if you incorporate what she's saying into the fact that maybe the issuance of a permit to explode fireworks can't be like anywhere. Like if there's any instance of if someone's afraid what it's doing to a species, like then maybe those people can't be, like maybe the bylaw has to, or the permits can't be just issued for anywhere. Maybe that would help in a way that you'd say, hey, you can't light fireworks off over here because, like she was saying, like this is where a certain species of owl lives, and it'll destroy them. I don't know. I'm just saying that, maybe like more of a stricter parameter of where to where fireworks can or can't be might be a start, but I don't know. I mean,
maybe the town should put on a big fireworks display on Halloween and everyone will just go to that one. Just kidding.
over the council, over the town hall would be safe, I guess.
Sorry, Director of Planning had her camera on and I didn't get to her.
Thank you, Chair. I was just going to mention that we didn't have bylaw enforcement staff working on Halloween, but if that's something that this council wants to see from now on, we can try and make that happen.
Now we've got the CAO.
Well, it's for us, there's quite a contrast between what we saw happening at Town Hall from a bylaw enforcement perspective. One person came in for a permit, he got issued, met the bylaw requirements. We had, to my knowledge, 1 or 2 emails. One was positive email, somebody that was in favor of it, and one wasn't. But that was about it. The fire department barely had any calls themselves. So there's, from having bylaw officers drive around Gibsons on Halloween night, we have RCMP doing that already, and I'm not sure that it's really stopping anything. So we can look at a report that what we presently do, what the bylaw is really about, and also clarify a little bit about what the provincial regulations are, and have a further discussion with council. So that's sort of, I don't know if that helps for a bit more narrowing of what our focus would be.
No, that is helpful. Thank you. Okay, Councillor Kroll, and then I'd like to wrap this up.
Thank you, Chair. Just with respect to what the CAO was saying, in the correspondence, if it's the same correspondence that he's referring to, there was a letter opposed to the fireworks, and the letter of support was actually from about a fireworks display that was held in Roberts Creek. It wasn't a Gibsons display. So I'm a little concerned about asking staff for another report at this time. They've got a lot of stuff on their plate, and I totally appreciate where Councillor D'Andretti's coming from. And Councillor Lumley mentioned, I think it was 2 years ago when we were having the fireworks debate, and it looked like it was being shut down by the province because of the fire hazard, that maybe we look at banning all fireworks with the exception of a civic display that's held when the weather's appropriate, and Halloween could be it. Just a suggestion.
Yeah. So that's the goal of the motion. The staff bring the report. Does it need to be the next meeting? But I think this is an issue that came up 2 years ago, and it will come up again during the fire season. And perhaps it has been solved by the province prohibiting, but I think it's an issue that at the time, this time maybe 2 letters only, but last time There was a lot of litter, and there's already studies done in environmental pollution as well.
Okay, so you're putting, so I believe you've made a motion. Do we vote on, we're voting on this motion tonight, corporate officer, but we can't, or we're not voting on it. Sorry.
No, a notice of motion is simply a member of council reads out the motion and then it will be put on the next agenda. And this allows public notification of the subject that it will be discussed at that meeting. But I can read back what I have written down for the notice of motion if council is interested.
Thank you. I would appreciate that.
That staff bring back a report about the fireworks bylaw, and I will insert the actual number of the bylaw. I just have to look it up. And current process, as well as related provincial regulations.
Okay. Thank you. Does that work, Councillor DeAndretti, for you?
Well, I'm looking for options, right? But that's okay. This is a good discussion as long as we start the discussion. And if council doesn't have a taste, then it dies here. But this is not the first time. I have concerns for the issues that I said. I think we need to start exercising precaution. We're still walking like nothing's happening.
Okay, so this motion works for you then? We can,
For now, yes. Thank you.
tabled? Okay, thank you. Okay, moving now on to inquiries. And this can be any inquiry, whether it's tonight's agenda or otherwise.
Sorry, missed my cue. At this time, I'll ask anyone in the meeting as an attendee, if you would like to raise your hand. The raise the hand feature is at the bottom of the screen. I'll turn on your audio and video for council. And I'm not seeing any.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so I believe that brings us to a motion to close. And I can't remember, do I have to read out all of this? That the meeting be closed in accordance with section 91A of the community charter and the rest.
Yes.
Personal information about an identifiable individual who holds or is being considered for a position as an officer, employee, or agent of the municipality or another position appointed by the municipality. Can I get a motion to close, please? Councillor Kroll, Councillor DeAndretti, all in favor? Okay, thanks everyone. I guess do I have to do, yeah, we'll see you in the